Welcome back to the Sports Rundown podcast. Today we'll discuss the New York Yankees' 3-2 victory over the Kansas City Royals in Game 3 of the American League Division Series. The game was a close contest, with the Yankees ultimately winning on a go-ahead home run by Giancarlo Stanton in the 8th inning. Stanton's performance was highlighted, along with his history of big-game hitting, and the Yankees' bullpen's effectiveness. The Royals' efforts to rally were also mentioned, along with the importance of the series win for both teams. But before we continue, can you please support the channel by pressing the like and subscribe? Thanks, it really helps support the channel.
All right, so we're back and ready to jump right into it. Game 3, Royals-Yankees. You know, you've given me these two articles, two totally different sides of the same game.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, that Stanton performance, just unbelievable.
It's amazing how different the two articles are, just in tone, right?
Mm.
The Royals one, you really get that sense of almost like a Greek tragedy, right? The weight of every single play, every missed opportunity.
Oh, yeah. You really feel like you're right there in the stands with the fans, with that, wave of hope when Chisholm came up to bat in the 7th and then just dashed hopes,
And that's what that article, the Royals-centric one, does so well, right? Like, you're right there in the moment.
Yeah.
But then you flip to that Yankee perspective, and it's like the clouds have parted.
Stanton's world.
Right.
We're all just living in it. And that go-ahead home run. I mean, talk about a way to silence a crowd.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, obviously we're going to talk about the home run, but even in the Yankee recap, they didn't just focus on the home run. They talked about, Stanton, he's dangerous, obviously, he's a power hitter, but they highlighted the fact that he took extra batting practice to get acclimated to the stadium in Kansas City.
It's like a chess match, right? He's in there, he's analyzing, and then boom.
And it's not just, brute strength.
Right.
There's a method to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's not just the homer. He steals a base. Giancarlo Stanton stole a base.
It was unbelievable. Even they were surprised.
I mean, who expects that?
And that's what makes these great players so fun to watch, right? It's like you never know what's going to happen.
Okay. So we've got these two narratives. You've got the Royals fighting tooth and nail, and you've got Stanton almost single-handedly willing his team to victory.
Right.
Where do we even begin? How do we untangle this?
Well, I think the elephant in the room is this idea of the clutch factor, right?
Yeah.
What is it about certain players where they're able to not just perform, but exceed under pressure?
Yeah.
Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it a combination of both?
That's the million-dollar question. In Stanton, you could say he was superhuman in Game 3, but what's interesting to me is that you mentioned something earlier. Stanton's amazing, but he doesn't win the game without the bullpen.
Without a doubt.
And we're seeing this more and more, right? The days of the complete game are kind of fading away.
Yeah, it's a chess match, for sure.
So how does that change the game?
Well, it's interesting because now you've got managers who are trying to out-strategize each other with pitching changes.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Bringing in Singer, who hadn't pitched in weeks, to face Judge with the game on the line. Talk about a gutsy call.
And it almost worked.
Yeah.
And you talk about a turning point. That phantom swing on Judge.
Oh, my goodness.
Could have gone either way.
If that call goes the other way, we might be looking at a different series.
Completely different ballgame.
It's baseball. One call, one swing. Everything changes. But, something we haven't talked about yet is this idea of expectations. You got the Yankees. They're expected to win. This is what they do.
Right.
And the Royals, they're playing with house money.
For sure.
So how does that impact what happens on the field?
Well, I think, for the Yankees, it's got to be tough to always be expected to win, to carry that legacy.
Right.
Whereas the Royals, they're loose, they can take risks, and they did in this game. They were aggressive.
They were playing with a certain kind of freedom, almost like, what do we have to lose?
Exactly.
And the Yankees look like they had the weight of the world on them.
Absolutely. And that plays into it.
Yeah.
That factors into it as well.
It's got to be a mental game as much as it is a physical game.
Without a doubt.
And you can see it in how they approach every single pitch, every at-bat. So, with all that said, you've got a team like the Royals. They're facing a team like the Yankees. They're playing with this, almost carefree attitude. And then you've got Stanton on the other side, who's just, it seems like, thriving under pressure. How did those two things even exist in the same game?
It's like having that internal clutch, right? Where some guys, they tense up, and other guys, it's like they find another gear.
Well, and is it something you're born with? Or is it
Yeah.
years of, training and being in those situations?
Right.
Or is it just something you can't even explain?
And we see it, you mentioned the Royals, they brought in Singer,
Yeah.
who hadn't pitched in weeks. That's a risk.
Huge risk.
Right. And I think that kind of speaks to the difference in managerial style, right? You've got Boone, who's a little more, I don't want to say conservative,
Sure.
but he's relying on his veteran players.
Right.
And that really solid Yankee bullpen.
It's like they always have somebody warming up just in case.
Right, exactly. Always ready to go. And then you've got the Royals manager who's like, you know what? Let's shake things up. Let's take a chance.
And that's what makes it fun.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
And it's like they're playing 3D chess out there.
It is.
Because it's not just about the at-bat that's happening.
Right.
It's about what's going to happen 2-3 batters down the line.
Absolutely. And even just like that moment when they brought Bubik in.
Right.
You could almost see Boone like, okay, what am I going to do? And the next thing you know, Stanton's on first.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's such a subtle thing, but it changes the entire complexion of the game.
Yeah. He's playing the long game, right?
Yeah.
He's not just thinking about the next inning.
Right.
He's thinking about the next 3 innings.
And that's what separates the good managers from the great ones.
Right.
Because they can see those things before they happen,
For sure.
but you still have to have the players to get it done.
Absolutely. Got to execute.
And that's why, going back to that phantom swing call,
Right?
it's so much pressure on these umpires.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's easy for us to sit here,
And that's
in our armchairs.
the Monday morning quarterbacking it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're making these split-second decisions.
Absolutely under pressure.
And in that moment, he saw a swing.
And it changes the game.
Completely changes it.
Right.
But, I mean, you want to talk about something that changes the game, we got to talk about that Stanton home run.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Talk about a momentum shift.
Yeah, the air went out of the stadium.
It was like, okay,
It was over.
it's game on.
And that to me is like the epitome of that clutch factor we were talking about.
Right. Like, what is that? Is that something he learned? Or is that just who he is?
And that's where I think, the Yankee recap was interesting because they were saying that Stanton had been putting in extra work, like studying the Royals pitchers.
Oh, really?
You're getting familiar with the dimensions of the stadium.
So it wasn't just, oh, I'm Giancarlo Stanton, I'm going to go hit a home run.
Right.
He actually put in the work.
He put himself in a position to succeed. Exactly.
It's a good life lesson.
It is. Yeah,
But,
definitely.
you got to give the Royals credit. I mean, even in defeat, they showed a lot of fight, a lot of resilience.
Yeah, they did not give up.
And I think that's something that's become a part of their identity, right? Like, they're never out of it.
And their recap does a great job of capturing that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like that never say die attitude.
And there's something to be said for that.
Absolutely.
That ability to just keep coming back, even when you're down.
And, again, it goes back to those expectations, right?
Right?
Where they're not supposed to win.
Right.
They're the underdog. So there's a certain freedom in that.
It's like they can swing for the fences every time.
Exactly. And that makes them dangerous.
Because you never know what they're going to do.
And they've been there before, right?
That's true, they have.
They've tasted playoff success. They know what it takes.
It's like they have that belief
That belief, yeah.
that they can overcome anything.
Right. And that's powerful, man.
It's like that intangible it factor that
Absolutely.
you can't really put your finger on, but you know it when you see it.
And it just goes to show you, in baseball, momentum can shift just like that.
One swing of the bat.
One call.
One crazy play.
Yeah, and the whole narrative changes.
And I think that's what makes this so interesting, because it's not just about...
It's more than just a game.
It's not just box scores and stats. It's about the human element of it all.
Exactly.
And it's not just the Royals, right? I mean, the Yankees, they have this whole legacy on their shoulders.
Oh, absolutely.
Every game, it's like a referendum on their entire season.
It's got to be tough, to play with that kind of pressure.
It really does make you wonder how they do it year after year.
I mean, some guys, they fold under pressure. Others, they rise to the occasion.
Pressure can burst pipes or make diamonds, right?
That's a good way to put it.
And I think in this game, in the series even, we're seeing both.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about baseball, man. It's not just a game. It's a microcosm of life,
Oh, 100%. The ups and downs, the struggles, the triumphs.
And these guys are out there putting it all on the line every single night.
It's inspiring in a way.
It really is, Makes you think about your own life, your own relationship with pressure.
It's not always about hitting a game-winning homer.
No.
It's about those everyday moments where you got to dig deep and find a way.
Exactly. And sometimes that's even harder.
Absolutely. Well said.
So yeah, I think that's what we can take away from this, even if you're not a baseball fan, right?
100%. It's about more than just the game.
It's about the human spirit, the will to succeed, even when the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah.
And you know what? sometimes you fail.
That's part of it.
It is, but it's how you respond to that failure that defines you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, another deep dive in the books. As always, it's been a pleasure exploring the intricacies of this beautiful game with you. Until next time, remember, keep swinging for the fences, even when the count's against you.
Well said. See you next time.